I'm live, they tell me. Okay. Hi. So, today's session is called How I Can Help, which is something that I've, over the last 5 or 6 years of being a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist full time, and over the last 2 years of then turning sort of the distillation of my yoga teachings into yoga programs and selling those programs online. That led to a lot more having to really articulate what's going on here and what's happening, and how engaging in the process of therapeutic yoga can help, and then specifically how I, as a yoga therapist, can help. Because in addition to yoga therapy being a great thing, I also have a background in strength and conditioning. And I also have a background in this e-course creation thing that sort of came to me through making e-courses for my yoga teachers whenever I worked for Yoga International and lived at the Himalayan Institute. So we would brainstorm what they wanted to teach and design courses for Yoga International. And so in that experience, I really learned how to start to take sort of big ideas and big concepts and lofty ideals in a way that yoga brings to us, and distill them down into digestible chunks, and then take those digestible chunks and program them out over a period of time, so that you're getting digestible chunk after digestible chunk in your in your coursework, that allows you to really learn quite a lot in a fairly short period of time. And the thing that I get really excited about for my clients and the work that I'm doing with people is that there's two aspects to it. You just do the next video, right? You just do the next one. And if you didn't, that's cool. Show up. Let's talk about why you didn't do it. What's getting in the way? Because if you're here and engaging with this, there must be something about being established in practice and having a consistent thing that you do. That's your way of taking just super good care of yourself and moving towards what you want in your life. That isn't just random or the next fad that someone's telling you is going to be helpful, but is the application of the wisdom of yoga and Ayurveda to your particular life. So not all of the yoga that could be good for the person that wants to, leave their body on Mount Kailash, have samadhi infinitely like Shiva. There's different goals when it comes to what people think of in yoga. And the type of practice that I'm really into is how we can take all of this wisdom and apply it to a very ordinary life, in a sense, or an ordinary lifestyle, and infuse it with this love and care and devotion and intention to create a lifestyle that feels like it has an element of being sacred. That it's not just like, my gosh, I have to feed myself again today and do the dishes and all of the mundane things that we have to do to live in the world in a certain way. How can those things become the vehicle for getting freer in our minds and connecting with our inner life in a way that has become sort of not so common, not an ordinary thing for people to do or talk about. It's very easy for our life to get externally oriented. There is no shortage of people trying to get your attention, right? Including me. Right? That are putting out things to hope that you will engage with them to, in some way uh, get your money. And so we live in a world where how can you be sure that what you want, what you're wanting, is what you really want, or what you've been told to want by an algorithm that knows you better than you know yourself. So the addictive nature of the devices that we carry in our hand, the addictive nature of much of the food and drink that surround us in a certain way, things that are really good for us and can give us some dopamine, like that, are everywhere. And so that's fine, but then what you become is somebody who's after the next hit in some way or another. And so we're trying to create an environment where something more like a relationship with yourself, and cultivating a relationship with yourself and what you want at the deepest level of your heart, can come forward and can be sort of a guidance that starts to happen from deep within. And that doesn't happen like that, right? That doesn't happen like the next like on your Instagram page, or whatever it is that we get very subtly addicted to. It doesn't happen that fast. So we've got to cultivate a capacity for slowness, and for steadiness, and for sustainability, something that we do and keep doing, so that we can build some sort of deep relationship with it, some sort of actual felt experiential knowledge for what it does. And so that's a lofty goal, to live a heartfelt life, or to live exactly the life that you want, or that resonates with you given your circumstances. That's a lofty goal. And one of the keys, and one of the main ways that I can help, right? Because it's really about you and what you want, and getting clear on those things, and goal setting, and support with goal setting, setting goals that are smart and doable and measurable. But it's also there's also the goals of yoga therapy, which is a pain-free or a pain-free mobility through your capacity in your life. So being able to become in some way stronger than your life. And so those goals are set by yoga therapy and set by the individual. And that's how everything gets worked through the body. So we're working through the body to return a sense of motor control and stability to the body, as much mobility at the joints as is possible in a pain-free way, and working towards being able to do that in bouts and amounts that make you stronger than what you have to do on a daily basis. So every day isn't zapping you completely of all of your energy, and you're living in a constant state of catch up and overwhelm, but rather you get a sort of a energy reserve in your tank. And that can really only happen through an intentional slowing of everything in your body, and that includes your nervous system. And so that leads us to the reason why I start out with, and I put out this establish a breathwork and meditation practice challenge, because these are things that you hear a lot about, and that maybe you've heard instruction on what to do. Maybe you've messed with a certain technique, but they're the essence and the core of what we're trying to get to in yoga practice also. And often people don't even know that. They think yoga is about having a super good warrior pose, or being able to stand on your head. It's not about that in any way. It's about being in alignment, in union with yourself. And that's yourself on a lot of different levels. And so the reason we start with the breath work and meditation challenge, because if I get your attention, right, if it works, if somehow off of uh, these interwebs, you get interested in the things that I'm talking about, and I have your attention. I want to infuse your body with the wisdom of your own breath as soon as possible. And so, if you meet me, let's talk about how to breathe, and let's learn about the anatomy of breathing and how breathing in a particular way and building your capacity to breathe in a particular way is going to put vitality and prana and life force energy into your body, right? So there, and that is something that no one will ever be able to take away from you. And if you get established in that relationship with your breath, and if I had anything to do with it, then I feel like I have done a good job. I've done my job. And so if we start there, and that can really be established, that you're regularly taking time out to regulate your nervous system, and you're building a relationship with your inhale and your exhale, and the expansion of the inhale, and the feeling of what it's like for breath to come in and touch you, and the exhale and the emptying and the letting go and the releasing and the softening of the body into that exhale. If you can build your own relationship with that process of expansion and contraction, then inside of that is the wisdom of yoga and Ayurveda, right? So there's this idea of these rhythms, and getting into relationship with these rhythms, that through the coursework that I've created keeps unfolding and keeps unfolding and keeps unfolding into more and more relationships, and a kind of a felt experiential understanding with uh, your relationship with the elements, and in this case the element of water and its rhythms and how it flows, and how to move in your life like water, and how to allow for both times of expansion and times of contraction, because that's the natural rhythm and that's the way of it. And so those rhythms exist within your breath, and they exist within your life as a whole, right? You come in and then you have some, a bunch of shit happen in the middle, and then you try to, go out in a good way. And as much as we can, and as odd as it is to say, a big part of yoga is to remember your death. Remember that you will go out, and to live your life in a way that allows you to do that in a good way, and that allows you to go in peace into whatever might be on the other side, right? So when we're talking about those things, we're starting to talk about big ideas and things that money can't help you with. Things you can't buy your way out of, things that no amount of success or striving or overextending is going to get you out of. And so to come into yoga is to come into reality in a different way, is to start to work towards a real relationship with reality that's around you. And we all hear these things. We need to be present. We need to take care. We need to be present. We need to take care. Well, okay, that's not that hard, right? That's simple to an extent, but it's not easy. It takes so much effort to create a pattern in your life that is willing to be present. And if you've had any experience with the second part of the breathwork and meditation challenge, or the meditation part, then you know that being present is very hard. There is not that our natural tendency, right? As far as the mind goes, the mind wants to latch on and fix and control and or brood over and belabor the past. So the mind has its functions that are, as I said in one of the last talks, sort of like a tyrant if it's not corralled, if we don't grab a hold of something that allows us to start to see that our mind and our habit patterns are ruling our life, and we're just kind of experiencing the same sort of struggle over and over and over again. So our work together individually is to start to see and recognize those patterns. So it can't happen without you. It can't happen without me knowing you, so that in addition to having this structure and this programming that's going to start you out at a place that's really doable and follow the rhythms that I'm talking about that are present in yoga and Ayurveda, it's going to be adapted to what's real and actually happening in your life. So there's all sorts of ideal rhythms that or ideal things you could do that Ayurveda would tell us, but well, what if you work the night shift? What if that's not realistic for your life? What if that's not what's really happening? What if that is really far away and you don't even want that? Well, then let's take your life and let's plug in this wisdom and let's figure out what does work for you, and let's base everything that we're choosing to do off of what you actually want, and let's see if we can create a day-to-day rhythm that has an overarching arc that's actually going towards what you want on a deep level, and not just what you're supposed to want, not just what you're told to want, or not just to put in a routine for routine's sake, or have a killer morning routine where you wake up at 4:30 and do steady self-care practices until 7 when you head off to work, and stack your life with this sort of sense of just obligation towards all these things that you should be doing. But make sure that if you have that kind of energy, we're directing it towards what you actually want, because it's so easy to be spending your energy on things that you don't actually care about, and the drama of the world will continue to bombard you unless you make space. And so our work together is about making space for you to start to feel yourself in a different way and experience your body in a different way, and learn to act and behave towards yourself in a different way, a way that is kind of goes from being overextended and scattered in all directions to being devoted to something, to having an orientation from somewhere deep inside that is moving towards some sort of vision for your life that you've had, that has arisen from creating space for you to feel what it is that your heart wants. And that takes a lot of getting around all of the things you've been told you should want, and all of the ways that you've told you should be. And so in our discussions together, you'll hear yourself say things that you don't actually even want, or that you want things that you don't actually want, because you've been told you want to want them. And so my job is to mirror for you. It sounds like you're saying you want this, and I'll oftentimes hearing it back is the only way you're ever gonna like, no, actually, no, I don't want that. So spending a lot of time and energy to move towards that, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Let's get down to what you really actually want. And that's where you are. I am in this place and I want this. Or I want to prioritize my body and my longevity. And I want to be good to the people I love, versus I want to, change the programming of every major hospital and, save the crumbling medical system, right? I heard myself say I wanted to do that. And I'm like, wow, let's think about what would actually be involved with that. Wow, maybe I just want to serve the people that I serve really well in the way that is really actually unique to me. And so getting clear on what I actually want helped me stop wasting a ton of time on things I didn't actually want. And that is the core of our work together. Get clear on what you really want, and then let's move towards it in a super smart way, in the smartest way we could come up with, that gets rid of all the randomness that you're doing that doesn't really move you towards what you actually want. That's actually coming from a spazzed out nervous system that isn't quite sure what will help. And so the thing that working with someone who's actually seeing you and helping you make choices on what you do does helps you maximize your time and energy, and it keeps you from stamping all of your mental patterns and dysfunction on top of your yoga practice, and just doing your yoga practice in the same way you do all your other dysfunctional behavior, because it's not about this superficial change. It's about a deep change. It's about a change in how you're sort of perceiving yourself and oriented in your life. And so it's not getting better at something. It's not getting new skills or being like superior to anyone else because you have a yoga practice. It's about living in reality, being with what's real, and in a real relationship with yourself, and living in a way that moves towards what you actually want and feel is possible for your life. So in a sense, I help people live their yoga practice in a way that leads to a congruence, leads to a state of the inner world and the outer world not being at odds. That there's just one movement of self, not all these separate sort of fragmented selves. And so the ideas that I think are really important about my work is that there's you can stop all the random stuff. You can stop spending hours searching which practice to do online, and do a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and oh, Maharaj over there said that, and Guruji over here said that, and Oprah says this, and on and on and on. All these different teachers, and then also screw all them. I'm my own teacher. I know exactly what I need to do. And that may be very true. And that is true in the sense that I'm always, as your teacher, pointing you back to you, and you having a knowledge of what you need. But you can't do it without the actual relationship, without someone seeing you and supporting you to see what how it is that you're moving in your body, or how it is that your alignment of your head might be tied to the way that you can't express yourself to your partner. How all of those things are not separate. And so working in the body in a really honest way can start to lead to a healthy emotional life, and a healthy mental life, and a healthy relationship with your inner authority, and what you want and who you are. And all of that coming together and leading to having real relationships with real people that start to soothe a deep need that we all have for the right kind of connection for us, and the right type of relationships for us. And so it's starting to not pretend that personal development is going to help us in a certain way. It's not about getting better at life. It's about getting real with your life, and learning to move in a way that's with the way of it, with the flow of life, and how nature moves us, instead of against how nature moves us. So slow and steady is the fastest way. And you've seen me do it with my hands a lot of ways, but there's this rhythm that all of the programming that I offer follows. And whether you're the type of person that dives in head first and is like, you know what, I know that I'll show up if I commit to it, and I, you know what, put the money down, put the intention down, and say for a whole year, I'm going to turn towards myself, and I'm going to build a new relationship with myself, and I'm going to really commit and be a part of this process, and stay with it, even when I don't really want to in a certain way, because it's coming from a deeper place that you actually want to connect with yourself. So whether you're the dive in head first, let's do it kind of person, or you're the dip your toe in, like, let's see what this about and what this person's talking about. Either way, there's a pathway for you to start practicing now, and start doing a doable, realistic, and helpful practice for you now, because the time starts now when the motivation is high, because she waxes and she wanes, the motivation. So starting when you feel motivated to start is important, and is taking the first step towards building that trustful relationship with your inner life and with your own heart and your own intuition. So starting whenever you feel the motivation, and then making the level of commitment that's really doable for you, that's doable for your time commitment, doable for your financial life, doable for what you have to offer now, and knowing that there's a pathway for us to continue together, and that I've really tried to build a container of support for my clients that allows me to program in a really unique way, where I'm conversing with you and hearing about you and learning about you, and then I'm giving you either individual videos, individual audio practices, or individual courses that are going to help you move towards your specific goal and what you're hoping for from starting to put in a personal practice or developing a therapeutic yoga practice. So it's the wisdom of yoga Ayurveda applied to you and your life, and then a container of support so that you can keep coming back to that effort, because life is going to have all sorts of distractions for you. That's not the important part. Just like you'll learn in the breathwork and meditation challenge, the important part is that you come back. And when you come back, can you make conscious what you learned from what happened when you went away, right? When you fell off your practice and what you intended, and what you knew was good for you, and what you committed to in a certain way. And you can fall off and come back on without without fear or without self-judgment, because that's part of what's happening here. It's a container for you to be able to fail a whole lot of times, but to make that failure something that you can learn from, and that you're making more and more conscious each time it happens. And so it's a space for you to self-reflect and learn about yourself and your tendencies and what you do. And the part where I come in is I say, hey, remember what you told me you wanted? remember what we talked about. And because I remember, because it means something to me for someone to trust me with their heart's desire, or to say, man, I could use some help in a certain way, organizing things and creating the structure that I know I need in my life. And I've heard that yoga helps, but I don't really get how, because every time I go to a yoga class, I kind of just look around, try to figure out what pose to do. And, I'm not really sure how that's helping me. Well, I would love to tell you in particular how yoga can help you. And that's really the difference in working individually with a yoga therapist and having a schmammering of classes and tutorials and practices that you do with a bunch of different yoga teachers, or a bunch of different types of self-care, or a bunch of different lineages or practices that you could participate in. So it's starting to take one way and really apply it to your life, because we live in a time where you could have access to lots of different ways, and it's hard to know which one of those ways is actually going to bear the fruit that you're hoping for. And so that's where working with a yoga therapist, or hopefully with me individually, because of all of this structure and support that I've worked so hard to put in place for you, uh, can help. So I hope that makes a little bit more clear how I can help. It's a process of constant refinement for me, and something that I'm constantly learning from to make it better and better, because I really want to be a good teacher. I want to be able to take these things that have helped me and process them through my own life and my own body, and be able to say something that's relevant to the people that are with me on this journey, and that are sort of taking these steps to move towards a life that feels intentional and meaningful to them, because that's what I believe will actually create this sort of change and revolution that on some level I think we're all hoping for. And so we'll move into our meditation now, and our meditation is about opening to what's possible. And so there's really only two ways of being, and we go between them. And I talked about them inside the breath, right? There's an opening, and there's an expansion, and there's a closing and a contraction. And both of them are completely natural and normal. And we can't always be open. We can't always be on and receptive. We sometimes have to close and rejuvenate and restore and repair. So there is a time for open and there is a time for closed, but there's only those two, right? So you're either open to life becoming what's possible, or you're closed and you're doing the same shit you always do, right? So that just means that you're in a mechanical mode. Your body has an amazing autopilot function, and that will take over and run your life. And your life could actually be really really beautiful, and a lot of things can get done, but it can be completely mechanical and completely unfelt. So we're trying to open to a different experience of life and open to what's possible for ourselves. So we'll do that in practice starting now. So turn towards your body and see if you can soften your body and notice how you were holding yourself before, and allow your face to soften and become expressionless, and allow your shoulders to soften and the back of your back to soften and your chest and your belly. And on your next breath, on your inhale, receive your breath in and down and feel your experience now. And do your best to keep your body soft in this sort of subtle way. It's an action towards receptivity. It's a movement towards not having that, tense, guarded, blocked, contracted shape in your body, but rather in your body having a relaxed, easeful openness. And so you're not trying to control what you're feeling from your body. You're trying to experience it. You're not even trying. You're just experiencing it. And so notice how rhythmic or not rhythmic your breath is. And notice how you receive it in and down. And soften to it now. And then bring your attention to your eyes and bring your sense of vision and your sense of sight to be wide. So your eyes are wide. So if you're looking at the screen, maybe look just over the screen and have me in your visual awareness, but also everything in the space that you're in your visual awareness. And then hold that wide vision. And then bring your attention to your sense of hearing. And bring a wide listening. So hear everything that you can hear at once. And don't try to control anything. Let your eyes move as they want to. And sense yourself in this way, sort of split between your vision and your hearing, and open through the front of your body, through softening and relaxing. So this is something that we do that's a little bit counter our survival instinct in a way, because to soften the body is to no longer be guarded and protected in a certain way that we can get really used to, right? We can get used to protecting ourselves and posturing in a way that can give us a sense of safety. But through opening we actually start to receive more information rather than closing off to the things that we're uncomfortable to feel. So we actually can start to digest our responses and digest what's happening coming at us from the outside in a different way, and in a way that's not trying to control and manipulate it, but trying to be open to it. And this is something that's hard to do for long periods of time. So the best thing to do is every time that you remember that, oh, I could be open right now. Anytime you feel yourself close and you think, oh, rather than this, I could be open. I could be feeling and experiencing this more deeply. Soften your body, return to your breath, and be, just allow your sensations to be in your awareness at the same time as wide vision and wide listening. So you're taking in the wholeness of what's happening in your immediate environment and in your body at that particular moment. And it's from that place. It's from where you are now, right? Reports from what's right here with you now that we begin together. That with where you are right now, what your space is and the life that you have, how can we move towards the life that you want in a really smart way, in a really honest way, that isn't pie in the sky, um, take a pill and solve your problems. It's going to take work, right? It's going to take feeling things that you've not felt before, but the reward is this openness. It's an ability to experience a full life, and to learn to be content and present in your life, no matter where you're at in that process, but to not also stop a certain kind of really smart striving that's going to help you feel a sense of agency in your life, and ultimately a deeper connection to that which is higher than you, because of the actions and the way you're taking action in your body. So as much as I'm trying to figure out how to say all this good stuff in a little shorter of a way, but the truth is, I can't help anyone that isn't ready to help themselves in a way that is a certain place to be in your life. And so whenever someone's at that place where they're really tired of doing a bunch of dumb training and reading a bunch of different articles that suggest you do a different thing from 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning, and being confused about, even if you're doing one of them, if it's the right thing that you should be doing, and never actually feeling like, oh, this feels like care. This feels like caring for myself, not enslaving myself in a different, new, slightly sneakier way, but really actually turning towards yourself in a different way. That is, I think, the overall experience that I'd like for my clients to have: a new relationship with themselves, and to feel and experience themselves in a way that is closer to reality, rather than the stories that sort of keep us subdued or scattered. All right. So keep remembering to soften and be open as often as you can, and invite a friend to the challenge. Right? So the challenge is a little bit of a joke, if you haven't picked up on it by now, because it's a challenge and I'm challenging you, but I'm challenging you to be gentle and consistent over a long period of time, and to set really realistic, doable goals. And to, when you find yourself overextended, learn from that and return to what's super doable for you. And in the breathwork and meditation challenge, there's all sorts of room for you to expand and contract your practice to what's really realistic for you at any given time. The ideal would be to go through all of the content, all 4 phases, in 1 month. And from that, you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot about each of those practices, and you'll start to build your own relationship with each of those practices, and with how much is too much. So this rhythm of starting at the beginning and progressing up and then coming back down and recovering is all inside of the challenge. So you get to start to experience the wisdom that yoga and Ayurveda offer us about what to do when and how much and why also, so that we can really have some conviction to our action in a different way, because it's backed by um, a lineage of practitioners who've been doing this for a long time. It's not my idea, but it is coming through me, and my life experience is what I have to teach from. And so I share about how it went for me, both good and both bad, because that's sort of how you'll start to gauge and get a feel for what realistic goals are and what you can expect from practice, so that again we can come back to the center where we can be real and have some sense of willingness to be content and present. Right. Thank you so much for listening. Do you have any questions or thoughts or feelings? Anyone?
Okay, it's me. Yeah. I have a thought. So I've been doing this I just realized some of this. I've been doing this for breathwork for 2 months total now. And it's so nice and encouraging to hear you talk about, you're trying to condense it down, but it's still really resonating with me, all the new things that I'm experiencing since doing breathwork and what you talked about today. Just to hear it again and be able to be like, oh, okay, I understand the capacity thing, the energy thing, like the not feeling as scattered thing. Like before I started the breath work, I really did feel scattered, and like I put a lot of pressure on myself to be creative, to the point where it was really overwhelming to be creative. Anyways, just little things that I can tell are changing in a really interesting way. The overwhelm is going away.
Ooh.
I've just had a creative idea yesterday that I'm looking forward to seeing if I'm able to just focus on it in a way that I haven't been in the past few months. I have a lot of creative past, and have a husband who's super creative. And I think at times I've held myself up to his daily schedule. He's just wakes up thinking about art, and I don't quite do that, but I'm finding my own way of working with creativity. Anyways, I just feel like that changed a lot in the past month. And I'm getting little glimpses of some of these things that you're talking about. One thing that also really resonates that you talk about a lot is that like it's good to be honest with yourself and know what you're doing that's either hurting people, or it's good to be aware of that so that you can change it. But there's less of a focus on shame and more of a focus on I need to know more about this. And there's safety in knowing more about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. That something that I say is that it's not, when the change isn't going to happen from trying to change yourself. It's going to happen through feeling what happens when you do this, feeling it, letting it touch you and experiencing it. And so then it doesn't become something you're avoiding and then do again. You've like felt like, no, you felt the whole body no of whatever the feedback is. And so rather than just doing the same thing over and over again, that's me beating the head against the wall, doing the same thing a slightly different way, you actually pause and stop and say, oh, that's actually not getting me the result I want. That feels terrible. And
Mhm.
so then the change happens very naturally and sustainably.
Yeah. Yes. Um, yes, it's a lot of less overwhelm. I'm feeling more creativity and more purpose, or being able to grasp purpose a little bit more before, because than I did before, because all of that was really overwhelming. But like uh um it's just a very hard to describe thing, where I went into this with really high hopes and expectations that scared me. Like I felt like every time I do this, it ends up being like something that doesn't match up to my expectations, or that I find out that it's like kind of not an MLM, like just kind of like one of those things where it's like
Yeah.
everyone's gonna
Scam.
change life, and then
Yeah.
you realize, oh, it's just
I
essential
know.
oil.
I know.
Yeah.
I think a lot about how to, because the same language that is used in yoga and yoga text is used for like, selling timeshares, freedom and fulfillment can be yours. And so it gets difficult to refine and talk about that. It's not a quick fix. It's a new orientation in a certain way, and uh, a different way of stepping into something to experience it, and recognition in a way. Just from what you said, it makes me think of how your expectations are actually keeping you from getting the benefits or the experience of it, because it at a certain point it doesn't meet the expectation that you had, and so then it's out. Whatever baby and bathwater and all of it is out. And so if we come into it expecting a challenge, and all we've got to do is 1 month of meditation, and then we'll be realized and get to experience what everyone is talking about as far as the benefits of these practices, which you will. If you do devote yourself to it for a month, you'll experience something of what the practice is about. But also that the challenge is not to remain overextended and challenged for the rest of your life, but to actually change your orientation towards what challenging yourself is really like. That it's not about doing more, it's about feeling more and experiencing for yourself your own being, because then you become a lot harder to sell or scam or dupe.
Mhm.
Because there's that feeling like, no, I'm not doing that again.
Yes. Yeah, and so that was my hesitancy at the beginning. But the more you talked and everything, I was like, okay, yeah, there's a real work that you have to put in,
Oh
and it's a
yeah.
slow thing, and it's all about honesty, and all of that created such a refreshing balance from some of the other red flags I've gotten from programs. And right now I'm kind of on a high, because after listening to you talk, I'm like, I feel like I'm on the right track.
I love
But
that.
I also, it's refreshing to look back and be like, it's not like this overhyped, like magic, like magical pill, or there's a lot of groundedness in it, a lot of just being introspective, slowing down, just slowing down enough to actually be honest with yourself. And I think that's kind of one of the things that I'm grasping on to the most so far, is just like, I feel so much less scattered just from being introspective
Mm,
more often, and honest with myself.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I'm hearing you say a more inward orientation, uh, and that you're letting the creativity find you.
Yeah.
by slowing down instead of,
Mm.
the pressure that we can build up on ourselves and the posture, we take when we do that versus the openness that allows for creativity.
And I can see a glimpse of how doing this creates a capacity, or I do see a glimpse of myself feeling safer about what life could throw at me, just because I am feeling like a little bit more energy to receive it.
Mm, yeah.
So yeah, those are some of the things that I've noticed in the past 2 months.
I love
And
that you've really devoted yourself to it, and it's really been such a joy to watch you go through it and watch you use the material and get so much out of it. Really, it's part of why I know I'm going to keep going because
yeah,
it feels good to have someone be so receptive to it. So I'm grateful.
yes, I think I was looking for some sort of just like direction to head in this area. I just didn't know how to do it, and I feel like you've been the perfect teacher for that.
Hmm.
It's just been really good timing, but also uh, just I was very I was ready for for some help in this area.
Mm, yeah,
So
that's great. Well, stay open, sister, and it's been really good to chat today.
yeah, you too. I appreciate you. I appreciate the talk. And oh, I've been journaling more. You, I think because I'm taking notes, but also with like a new moon and full moon rituals, I've just been journaling a lot more. And in between, it makes me think to journal a little bit more. And I just finished my journal yesterday, so I bought another one today.
Ooh, I love a freshie. I'm almost there also. And I realized I left my journal somewhere, my black notebook I always have with me. I'm like, I should have written "Do not read" really big right on the front.
I know, for
Where's my
real.
book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything there.
That's where we just put all the crazy so we can see it, right?
I am looking forward to going back through this talk and taking some notes on it, because
Oh, great.
it I don't know, it did feel very like you've said, when you listen to something, like I've been doing this for 2 months, and some of these concepts I didn't quite understand how they would come to be. Like, how does this give you more energy? How does this make you feel safer
Mhm.
about life happening and all of that? But I'm still just getting glimpses of it. But I think
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to go over this talk and kind of really write down some of these
Yeah. I
uh,
think
goals.
the thing that comes to mind from what you said just then is that you start to be able to take on the waves and stay stable in a different way.
Yeah,
That, through modeling your body taking on waves of intensity of practice and training and in your breath and in your body and in all these different areas of your life and how you organize your day and how you organize your year, all of those
yeah,
things you start to then kind of get a feel for like, whoa, there's a wave starting.
yeah.
And, start paddling a little so that you can so you can keep up with it. And so then, then it's more like riding the wave than just having life crashing in on you all the time.
Yes, and when you first mentioned that, like within the first phase, I think, or I guess it was the second phase, you were talking to me about waves. I was like, this is so crazy that all of this is connected to just breath work. And you always say it's like sneaky. It's just breath work, but there's so much more to it. And
Yeah, yoga is prana, and prana is breath. So that is it's a pretty powerful statement, but it really is true. It's how the yogis delineate, becoming to able to be sensitive towards these energies to be able to sort of even have this wisdom that we have. So Yes, the breath is no joke. The pranayama is where it's at. And I really I think that there may be folks doing asana and maybe even a lot of asana that still aren't unlocking the key of prana in their yoga practice. And so the hope is to just like be like, all right, man, here's the key. If you can commit to this practice for a certain period of time, it'll unlock a lot of the other things that you might be doing in your life, and that could be enough for somebody, that unlocks that sort of understanding of what it means to have a regular practice and how it helps. But if it's not enough, let's keep going and keep training in a really smart way, and keep experimenting like yogis.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it.
I love it too. Thank you.
Thank you.